Well, we're back again during the break. Dylan, he took a moment to relax and get his mind in order, and I'm hopeful that he'll come back stronger in this part of the show. Do you have a topic for us, Dylan?
Yes, I do, Travis. So last week we talked about 2016 being the year of like dumb money in esports, like people just throwing cash at it. And there's been a lot of big pickups, like MTG buying DreamHack for $26 million. They also bought controlling interests in ESL. MLG sold to Activision Blizzard for $46 million. But the single largest investment in esports so far, at least on paper, has been eForce investing $100 million in the Virtus.pro, the Russian esports organization. So this is scary because eSforce, it turns out, also owns 90% of CSGO Lounge, which is the most popular esports gambling website. It's also come to light recently that they've acquired 66%, a controlling share of SK Gaming, and also own the media rights to Navi. So this is an esports conglomerate. People say that like TSM, Team Liquid, and C9 are like Illuminati, or like Dig Life that owns an IP, MTG, WME, IMG, all of these organizations, most of them are okay to me. But when you look at some, like for instance, like Twitch and their ownership or affiliation with like EG and Alliance, Winterfox, the GG Academy or whatever, GG agency, that's kind of a weird relationship. And eSforce owning CSGO Lounge, it's kind of clear that these groups can kind of just do whatever they want, like when left unchecked. So my question is like, at what point do these internal relationships hurt esports?
I'll go first. I don't have too much to contribute. I'll just say that was way too many acronyms for me to follow, and I have no idea what you just said.
It's about as many acronyms as there are
The company
dollars.
that owns a giant CSGO team also owns a CSGO gambling site.
Oh, that seems weird to me because didn't you say they basically have media rights to another team and are a controlling share of another? Yeah,
SK Gaming, Navi.
That gets really weird.
That's bad.
Yeah, so obviously, just in terms of like any kind of sponsorship stuff, can get a little weird, and especially like roster stuff because they're all mostly CS:GO teams, right? That's like their main game. I think any of that can be weird because moving forward, anytime you set up a league system, you have to worry about like, are these guys like in collusion together at any point? And stuff like that becomes very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, as much as to be the Riot shill that everybody accuses me of being, I really do appreciate that Riot has stepped in and put so many restrictions on teams and in this area and making sure that people can't have ownership in others and sort of fining or booting people who exhibit a lack of following of those rules, because esports is just so ripe with all these conflict of interest. People that own teams that also own streaming platforms, people that own teams that also own gambling sites. It is just so frustrating because I think the other thing is that you can kind of think of the fact that right now we are still laying the foundation of what esports is going to be like for the next couple of decades. And if that foundation is cracked or has issues with it, we're going to have a really hard time building something solid. And it's really hard, I think, later on to just pull all these interests out, like as we have these giant parent companies come in and purchase these things. I'm just worried for the future of the industry if this stuff can't be changed. But there's no regulatory body, right? It's like the only example of it, right?
Right.
So
You can do whatever you want in esports. It's the Wild West. And what bothers me the most is that like this all came to light and nothing's been done. Like this is just now.
It came out years ago.
No, like in the last couple months.
I mean, like, what can people do, right? Like, I mean, like you said, there's no regulatory body. Like,
but
how do we deal with this?
WISA,
yes, of course.
WISA was here to clean up the corruption in CS:GO, and clearly they will step in like the superhero they are.
That was awesome.
And solve this problem.
Virtus.pro and Navi are members of WISA.
I mean, like, so, but also
the other ones. There's a commission, whatever.
They'll figure something out. No, they won't. No, of course they won't figure anything out. This is an impossible ask of people to figure out because, like, what are you gonna do? Like, it's there has to be some sort of body or some sort of fan uprising or something. Something needs to change in order to get these things fixed. I mean, because it's not only just business problems, right? It's not only just saying like, oh, the only conflict isn't business. It's also there's a huge competitive issue here, like massive competitive issue, and the legitimacy of the tournaments that these teams are playing in should and probably will, quite frankly, come into question because you can't have these teams facing off against each other that are owned by the same organization.
Yeah, so-
I'm not saying that they're in collusion. I'm not saying that
Oh, no,
anyone's
I
throwing matches
don't-
or anything,
I don't
but
mean to
it's
imply
just
that.
like like a matter of fact, your moral compass should say I should not own the most popular gambling website and 3 of the best teams in the
Right,
world.
and especially with the history of match fixing over in Korea, and this is not something that is unprecedented.
Well, so I think what's sad about this whole situation is that it's the perfect example of the issues that occur when we have all these leagues competing together instead of trying to work together. Because a simple solution to this would be if all the leagues agreed on a certain standard that you had to work with. Like, oh, hey, you can't own a gambling website if you also own a team. You can't compete in our league, or you can't be a part of this tournament. That would be really good. Valve, by the way, could step in and change this. I mean, they did change that coach thing. And
right, but not all the tournaments aren't even abiding by that rule.
yeah, I know, but they started a trend, right? Like they I think are the only person or group that could do something about this, and they just don't care.
I mean, even touching on what you said about Riot trying to like control who owns what, like they had that weird situation with Renegades where like they banned Badawi for a year, but he was still like CEO of Renegades, but just not the subsidiary,
Yeah.
which is the League of Legends teams. Like teams just start compartmentalizing all this stuff, and so like even if you want to say like you can't own this, then you say, all right, I don't, my friend does, and we're different companies, even though it's the same thing. I think at some point it's just like you can't actually relegate that kind of stuff, and even like a governing body, unless like it encompassed all of esports, doesn't really work because you can just split up everything.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
You can relegate the Renegades, so.
Let's move
Oh,
on.
God.
Let's move on.
Check out Yahoo Esports Live every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific.